welcome back to my channel. As you can see here, I've got a nice 1911, just for YouTubiness. It's an airsoft toy, it's not loaded, and it's safe. Yeah, that way. Yeah, this is an Armament 1911A1. So this isn't really a review in the way of like me talking about how great it is, how well it performs, or issues it might have, or anything like that. There's plenty of reviews like that on armament pistols, and to be fair, like I could not give you an honest review video because I don't use it. This video is just more going to be me talking about it, really, and why I still have it if I don't use it, what exactly it is, and like how I came to possess it. But yeah, it's just really nice. I think it's really nice, and I like it a lot. So I just wanted to talk about it for a moment. Let's see how much gas is in this mag. Yeah. Not loads, but decent. That's just duster gas as well. Again, like, just I only really use maintenance gas, especially in pistols that I don't really use at games and stuff. Like, why put the extra wear and tear on it, you know? If I'm not trying to get, you know, the optimum performance out of it, like, it just seems a bit of a waste. So yeah, I just have duster gas in it to keep the mags good and, you know, maintain all the lubrication and everything that it needs and stuff. I probably could use this as a proper pistol, you know. It's robust enough, it's nice, it feels solid. I'd probably want to put like a better inner barrel in it and a better hop-up unit and rubber, just because I'd want to make sure I'm getting that extra performance out of it. You know, it's great for plinking targets in the garden and stuff, but even doing that, I've noticed that, you know, I could get a bit more consistency and accuracy out of the barrel. And I'd want to do that if I was going to be playing games with it and stuff. But yeah, I think the main reason I don't use this in games, I've got a Tokyo Marui 1911 as well. I don't really use that in games either, even though I do take it out on my sort of Vietnam loadout in a nice period correct holster and shit. But that's more for the look. I don't think I've actually drawn it and used it much in games, but that's mostly because of these thin magazines. They're super thin, and that's just, you know, what you get with the 1911. It's the real one's a single stacked magazine, right? So whereas, you know, the Marui, because it's a Marui clone, really. There's a few quirks with it that some of the magazines don't like my Marui. Some of them, you know, my Marui doesn't really like some of the Armament magazines, but for the most part, it is a clone. And on the Marui 1911 clones, the magazine itself, you know, for 6mm BBs, it is still a double stack magazine. You know, this still holds 20 something rounds, but the magazine doesn't hold much gas. So yeah, I mean, I can get 20 shots out of it if I'm not using it much, or if I'm just plinking in the garden or whatever. But if I'm like, you know, if in the event of my rifle goes down and I'm forced to sort of use my pistol to suppress someone so I can move, or my team can move, and I can get to a point where I can sort my rifle out and stuff, like spamming at someone with this to keep them down, I want to run out of gas so quickly. Probably not going to finish the mag. It probably won't lock back, and that's literally just a trait of 1911s. I did used to have a CO2 one, and that was much better because that basically made it the same as using a high capper. I could spam it and get a full couple of magazines out of it before I had to change the CO2 can. Before I had to change the CO2 canister. But this just doesn't quite hold enough gas. You'd have to have a few mags, and for that reason I do. But again, I do have a few magazines for them, but I still don't really use them. I might sell the Marui one, I don't know. I do kind of want to keep it and put a Garda kit on it, so make it just a nice sort of World War II Vietnam era looking gun. Nice retro vibe, and feel a bit nicer in my holster when I'm, with my kit, and be a little more robust because it is, the Marui one is made of plastic. But yeah, so why'd I buy it? Well, I do really like 1911s. Originally, I bought it because it was cheap. It wasn't even this anymore, really. So I got the Armament 1911A1 a few years ago now. It's probably just before the COVID shit. So it's sort of 2019, I went to a shop that had it in stock. I think I originally bought a crappy like gas powered revolver that didn't work when I got it, so I was like, oh, I'll return it, but I'll come in and return it and get my refund and pick up a new pistol. And at the time I didn't have my Yukara. Now you have to basically prove that you're a skirmisher to buy a realistic looking firearm in the UK, for anyone that's watching that's not from the UK. One easy way of doing that is, after you've played a few games, the site that you play at will put your name onto a database and give you a number, and it's called a Yukara and blah blah blah. So yeah, I didn't have that, I'd only just got back into playing Airsoft as well, so I had guns, I had rifles and stuff, but I did have a pistol, I had a Glock, but again, I really like 1911s and wanted a 1911, and so I went and got this 1911. The slide had been pre-two-toned blue, but the rest of it was really nice. It was a really nice sort of Parkerized grey colour with a blue slide, which was a bit of a pain in the ass because it was a nice slide like this one. Armament used to just kind of not give a shit and just put all the markings on. Anyway, so it was a nice blue slide with all the Colt trademarks and whatnot. And I had that for a little bit. I used it. It was a cold winter game, so probably a waste of money at the time. Really, I should have just bought, I don't know, grenades or something. But yeah, but it was nice. It shot nice. It felt nice. And yeah, so I really liked it. Now I stripped the paint off of the blue paint off of the slide, and had the slide sort of silver, and the bottom was that Parkerized grey. But that's kind of like an army thing, the Parkerized finish, right? And so I didn't really want like the two together. It was like a black and silver two-tone like this is nice. Dual tone, I'll call it. Two-tone is what they call, painting part of it a bright colour over here. So I'll call it dual tone. But yeah, for dual tone, like black and silver is nice. The silver and grey, a little bit weird looking, at least to me. So so I got some grey paint, but finding the right tone of grey for the paint, for that sort of military gun colour of that era of firearms, was a bit of a pain in the ass. So it was a bit of a mismatch, and I think I ended up painting that lower as well, and then I ended up buying this slide, this upper slide, and it came with the slide and the barrel and all the internals and stuff, well, at least the slide's internal, so the nozzle and the hop-up unit and the inner barrel. Just a complete thing, but I bought the wrong one. And I bought a black one and not a grey one. So yeah, I ended up keeping this slide as it was. I think I stripped off the paint again from the original one. So by this point, it looked kind of beaten up and awful. So I did the same thing to that lower as well. Tried to strip the paint off of that, and then I don't know, I ended up with lots of parts of a 1911, and decided to buy. That was it. I decided to buy a lower, a silver lower, because I had a silver slide, right, or at least it looked silverish because I'd taken the paint off, and then I got it, and like I put the silver slide on the silver lower, and it kind of looked horrible because this looked all clean and nice and new and shiny, and the silver slide looked sort of pissed and scratched and janky. So yeah, I painted that grey, I think. Yeah, I don't remember. No, I ended up with this lower, this upper. I keep calling it lower and upper as if it's a rifle. This frame and this slide, and a grey frame and slide that I'd repainted, and then there was it, the original blue slide that I'd repainted, and then I had basically enough parts to make another one of these, but the other way around. So I had like a slide that I had another slide. So somewhere along the lines, I must have acquired another slide. Maybe I bought another slide. I don't remember. No, that was it. This was a whole. No, I don't even remember. Maybe this was a whole gun when I bought it. Yeah, that was it. So I did buy a slide on its own as well, and then I bought this as a whole gun. I think I got it really cheap because it was sold as B stock when it wasn't really B stock at all. It was working absolutely fine. But it was on a black gun with gold grips. That was it. It had weird gold grips. So it was a black gun with weird gold grips. I threw those in the bin, and then, or I might have painted them or something. And then I put the silver slide that I'd taken the paint off of, the original blue one that I'd taken the paint off of, on the black body, and I had kind of a dual tone setup going on where I had black frame, silver slide, but it was like a pissed horrible silver that didn't fit this silver, and then I had a silver frame with the black slide that I really liked. And then I also had these other spare old parts that I basically ended up building into a chassis, if you want, like a 1911 chassis. So it didn't have a magazine, it didn't have a nozzle, it didn't have an inner barrel and hop unit. Then those are kind of the things, if you're building a 1911, you're going to like replace all of those anyway. So I was like, I've got enough of the external parts here to paint this and make it look nice again, which I did. I painted it like a nice sort of dark grey colour, and then did some sort of from a distance with a spray can going upwards to sort of shower it a little bit with a bit of like black and dark grey to kind of give it like a parkerized kind of look and almost texture. And then I stuck some brown grips on that and sold it to someone just up on the Airsoft forums UK, and yeah, that was that. So then I was left with these two. The other one I didn't really like enough to keep. I'm never going to run around with two and 1911s, and there's not really like a collectible justification. Like I'm not really a Hitman fan or anything like that, and they're not really the Hitman pistols, and you can buy those as a set anyway. So there was no sort of collectible value or worth for me to have the two as they were as kind of like a set, when I can sell one of them with a couple of mags. I had a few of these style mags. So I sold that with a few mags for a justifiable amount of money. I was left with this, and I preferred this way around with the silver lower and the black frame, and because it kind of resembles the one in Terminator 2. I'm a big fan of that film. I loved that film when I was a kid, and it's a film that I just happily watch. It's a great movie, and so yeah, that's kind of why I kept it around. The one in Terminator 2 has some slightly different grips with like a wraparound front, I believe. But these grips, so it just kind of resembles it. I wouldn't say it's like a clone of it, or it's trying to be a clone of it, or anything like that. I think also the serrations are at like the angle, the sort of the newer 1911s are. It just kind of like resembles it in the hand, and I do like that about it. Now with these grips, so just going back to this is actually from the original gun. So it's from the original 1911 with the blue slide that I bought. I kind of like that it's on there. I don't know why this frame didn't come with a slide pin. The slide stop. I don't know why it didn't come with that, but it didn't. So I popped in the original one on there. I think at some point down the line I bought a different one for that for some reason. I don't really remember. This is all over the space of a few years, obviously. But yeah, I kept that original part on, and I quite like that about it. So yeah, going back to the grips are actually from my first, and it was my first, I think, maybe second BB gun. I think my first one was one of those little sort of Tokyo Marui mini MP5s, electric MP5s that you poured the BBs in the top, and it was like gravity fed and it was about this big, and it was fully automatic and stuff, and that was a good fun. But I think after that, see, my uncle used to have like an arcade machine shop in Kent, where people could go play arcade machines. You could buy arcade machines or rent arcade machines from him. But he also had, like, it was before the whole Yukara shit in the UK, and he just had like a BB guns bit in the shop, which was kind of cool. And when he sort of was closing shop and moving abroad, he just had loads of this stuff lying around, right? So he gave me and my brother some BB guns, and that the mini MP5 was the first one, and then the second one was a KWC, and I've still got the pistol as well, which is really, really cool. Don't know how, but I do still own the actual pistol. I think it still works as well. It was like a Springer, the M19. It was marked 1991A1 because it was like an 80-year anniversary model of the 1911. It was a spring pistol, so single shot, just cock it and stuff. But it was 1-to-1. So I took the grips off of it. No, these grips are really nice. The KWC pistols are all like licensed through Cybergun, I think. So you've got like a nice Colt marking on there. You've got the horse. They're really nice, sort of kind of like a rubberized plastic, thick plastic, and the texturing on them is really nice. It feels really nice in the hand. They're a little wider than the ones that come with these, and they also have weight panels in them to make the spring pistols a little bit heavier. So I thought it was cool, like a nice I thought it'd be a nice idea as a way of having like a bit of what sort of started me in airsoft, or what sparked my interest in, BB guns and airsoft and stuff. Having that on one of my current guns, even though I don't use it, but it's still nice that they're there. I use it more than I would the spring pistol anyway. But yeah, so I thought that would be a nice touch. Now, I did have to alter the bottoms of them ever so slightly. I didn't want to really like damage the grips too much, but just where the frame of the gun's modified for CO2 cartridges and sticks out there, I had to sort of carve away a little bit. I could probably tidy it up a bit and do it a bit better, but just so that the grips would fit around the little CO2 bulge there. So Army Armament, let's talk about them for a little bit, because they make some cool stuff, man. Like they do make some cool stuff. Their build quality is externally, it's actually really nice, despite what their price point might say about their reputation, being on the sort of cheaper side of things. They are actually very nice. Like the fit and finish of this is really nice. There's a really nice sort of tension on the recoil spring there. It does take a little bit to break initially, and then when it does, it's so smooth. And I've noticed this. So I worked in an airsoft shop for a little bit as well, and we had a lot of Army Armament pistols. And this is what I noticed about their high cappers and their 1911s, is they're just, the machining on the frame and the rails that hold the slide to the frame is just really nice. And so it's incredibly smooth. It's very sort of clicky and clacky and jangly and really smooth. And and this is a mismatched set. This slide wasn't made for this frame. I bought them separately on separate things and swapped them over. And it's still very minimal wobble in there. It's tiniest amount, like negligible. And that's just because it's made well. And I'm not saying every single one's like this. Everything that's mass produced, manufactured in Asia on scale has lemons and faults and stuff like that. But I think as well, like the hammer spring, like the Trident spring in there is like really solid, probably because I don't use it an awful lot, to be fair. But that when the hammer springs back, it springs back and you can tell that, you know, it's down and it's clear and out the way of everything else. It's not getting caught on any of the blowback unit inside like some of them do. So yeah, I mean, like I'm super happy with their build quality, and I do fancy getting a couple more of their pistols as well, one of their high cappers, because I think, I don't know, I've got into that recently. My latest obsession is their high cappers, especially the ones you get from overseas that still have all the markings on them and aren't just called R something something something. They're actually not licensed, but they've got all the correct markings on them in the correct places. Like the staccato pistols, they do look really nice. They feel really nice. They're finished really nice. And I mean, even this, like, you know, it's just black paint on there. It's not like a Cerakote or anything, but they've done a really nice job of it. It's sort of the right amount of reflective on the black. You can mark it with, you know, greasy hands and stuff, and it kind of gives off sort of a steely-ish sort of remnants, which is, you know, pleasant. And then the stainless part is just gorgeous, and I think that's why I don't really take it out to play. I don't want to scuff this one up. I want to keep this one relatively clean and nice. And you know, that's also the reason why I got the Marui one. So that's why I'm kind of considering selling that Marui one. However, I probably won't. I'll probably do what I said I was going to do and get the Garda kit on it and stuff. Oh, they also come with a threaded barrel, which is a nice touch. You can put a thread adapter in there and stick a silencer on there. But yeah, fit and finish, top quality. I know Armament had a bit of an issue with their Glocks lately. Again, from working in the shop, we had to like basically return a whole batch as faulty because I guess there was something wrong with the manufacturing process somewhere, and they just didn't really work properly. They just weren't very gas efficient, basically. I think things didn't quite marry up and it didn't perform as it should. I have owned an Armament Glock 34 though, and that was great. That was fine, absolutely fine. So I guess that was maybe a different batch, but their 1911s and their high cappers, the John Wick stuff they've been doing is really, really nice. And yeah, I mean, I think the only faults I've run into, either through working at the shop I was at or just read about and stuff, you know, user errors. People trying to put black gas in their pistol because they want to get more performance out of it during the summer. It's like, that's not how it works. You need to realize that if you're putting like higher pressure fuel in your gun, like it's going to have more of a wear and tear effect on the internals. I had one thing with someone who, it was clear they had put like this in when it wasn't all lined up correctly in there and forced it through, and it looked like it had broken like the hop unit and the outer barrel. And yeah, I mean, you know, I go back to a point I made in a previous video, and that's like, you kind of get what you pay for. And I mean, a gun like this, it costs, I think I got my original one for 70 quid. In the UK, new from a retailer, the two-tone blue one with markings on it. You can't get it with markings on anymore. Actually, at the shop, we had like a box full of slides where they had to change the slides because they had markings on. So we had a box of marked slides that we couldn't sell. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that, but yeah, like, you know, it was 70 quid, and it performed, you know, as great as I needed it to. But you do kind of get what you pay for. Like, I'm not going to buy a gun for 70 quid and expect it to last for 4 years. I've had this iteration of it for 2, maybe 3 years, but again, I don't use it that much. But you know, I'm not going to expect it to last that long. I think the video I did, you know, the MP7 that I did a video for, I'm pretty sure that's in need of some TLC now, and I've only used it a couple of games. But again, that gun was 120 quid. So, you know, I don't expect it to last forever, and that's what a lot of airsoft players think and expect. Is like, you know, the whole sort of right as a consumer, when really you need to think about what you're buying and why you're buying it and how much money you're spending on it, because you do have a responsibility as a consumer to buy the thing that is going to suit your needs better. And buying a gun for £100 might seem like a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money in airsoft. People spend thousands on a pistol. I think, you know, this is something I just kind of made up. I wouldn't, if I could buy it as it was, it would probably be around £90. That's not a lot of money for a pistol. It's really not. If you don't have the budget for a big, like a pistol that costs a couple of £100, by all means get a cheaper pistol, but only get, if you've got the money for a pistol for a couple of £100 and that's it, don't buy that. Buy a cheaper one and buy some magazines for your pistol and some lube and stuff to maintain it. Because, you know, it's just like with a car. You don't buy a car and expect it to run flawlessly forever without you doing any maintenance on it, or having it MOT'd, or like oiling it and putting water in it and stuff like that. Like everything takes a certain amount of maintenance. Or even a bike. Like, and that's what people don't sort of realise or choose to ignore when getting into airsoft. It's like, oh, if it breaks, I'll just return it, or if it breaks, I'll, you know, get a new one or whatever. But really, like, you need to think about what you're buying. If you're buying a gun and you want to buy a gun that's going to last you a few years, buy the gun that's going to last you a few years. Don't buy a cheap gun and expect it to last a few years just because it costs £100 and that's a lot of money. Because as I said, in airsoft, that's not really a lot of money. It's a good start. You can get a good starter gun that might last you a year. Pistol, this is for £100. for a rifle, you know, £100, you'll get a gun that will do a game maybe, and then it will have problems just because the quality of the materials it's built with and just isn't there. And it takes like a minute thing to. It only takes like a one small thing to sort of start a domino effect of issues with anything that's running on power and that has a lot of moving parts, like an airsoft gun. This video's kind of just turned into a bit of a rant. I kind of expected it to. It's all very relevant to me at the moment. But yeah, so yeah. I mean, Army Armament, like I can recommend them, just from like an external quality point of view. I can recommend them. Like, they are really nice. Like, they're made really nice, their machine's really nice. If you I'm pretty sure, I don't think you can get the sort of the trademarked ones in the UK anymore. I think UK retailers are basically just too scared to try and to sell them like that, because, you know, in case they get into trouble and get sued for selling them like that, when really it's the manufacturer who's putting the markings all over it. It's I guess the retailers assume some responsibility for selling it as a, you know, official product, or it looks like they are. I don't know, but it's quite. But you can still get the guns with trademarks and stuff on from overseas. I like to use Asia Airsoft. Everything on there is like priced to your door, basically. You don't get any sort of import costs, or and it's free worldwide shipping. So that's pretty cool. You can get the guns with all the markings on them and stuff like that still. And it's nice that companies are out there like Army Armament making sort of cheaper stuff with all the trademarks, because then you are at least getting a quality external build, and, you know, it looks nice, looks legit. Outside of that, I'm pretty sure all of Army Armament's pistols, at least, are Marui clones, so they'll happily take Marui internals. Did have a Marui, in a barrel from the Marui in here. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I don't know why I don't do that, and that might make it better. If I put the hop up and in a barrel from my Tokyo Marui, and even like the nozzle and blowback unit in here, that might improve its performance. I don't know, maybe I'll do that. I kind of want to keep the Marui as it is, to be honest, but I don't know, that's something I could consider. But yeah, they're Marui compatible, so that is an option. I guess I could do that. So I guess this has been a bit of a rant and a look at my Army Armament 1911A1 in sort of this custom dual tone configuration that it's landed at that sort of resembles the pistol in. I'm going to be doing some more little videos like this, I think, as well. I've got enough pistols in my collection that I can do a little ranty video about. But yeah, if you like stuff like this, give a like and a subscribe and whatnot. Help that YouTube algorithm get me videos seen by people that, you know, it's relevant for, I guess. I was gonna like not bother with this, but then I saw that a couple of my videos were getting a few hundred views on them, which was quite nice. So I thought, that's great, you know, I'll do a few more. I've got enough guns to talk about. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.